And that's something that I had to really check my mindset on, that I would say, I would kind of warn other couples, be careful that you don't fall into the mindset trap that I did, which was like, ugh, he's waking up again. I just want to sleep. And it's like, he's not doing it on purpose. He's in a ton of pain and he's just trying to get through it. Hey there, and welcome to Marriage Talks, a real, authentic, and relatable podcast about how to thrive in your marriage. I'm Elizabeth Ann.
And I'm Michael.
And today we are going to be talking about a serious topic. We're usually pretty lighthearted. We talk about some serious things, but for the most part, I would say we're pretty lighthearted, right?
Oh, yeah. We try to be, even on the serious stuff.
Yes.
There might be moments of glee on this one, too. We'll see.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be talking about navigating health issues as a couple. And this gets into some of the heavy duty, life and death stuff, really. Well, that sounds really serious, but
it
not trying to be all gloom and doom.
Yeah.
But we had a particular thing that we're going to really talk about. We have one particular health scare for me that really shaped us a lot.
Yes.
Post-incident. We'll get into that quite a bit.
Yes.
That'll be the meat of the episode because that's something we've walked through.
Yes.
Hand in hand.
And the reason we are talking specifically about navigating health issues is because this was a listener request. And this is something that a listener is currently walking through with a family member. And this person just, said, hey, would you mind talking about this? And we're like, you know what? We actually can from experience. And so we really wanted to share what we went through and kind of give you, I think, some actionable steps for things that really helped us.
Yeah, in that just in case moment, we hope and pray that you don't have to go through any serious health issues in your entire lives. But in reality, there's a fair likelihood that you're going to have some sort of a health scare.
Yes. And
it's good to kind of know some things ahead of time, just some tips and tricks to how to skate through it as easy as possible. Yes. And to maintain a lot of closeness during that process.
For sure. And that's, when you say your marriage vows, it's in health and sickness, or sickness and in health.
Yeah, that's the one.
And
she remembers real well. Now I'm kind of scared.
But it seems really, kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but it just doesn't seem like it has much weight when you say it, when you're saying your marriage vows. But when you actually walk through a season of sickness, whether it's you or your spouse, it's serious. And those vows aren't playing. It's not the sign of sickness. Okay, run away. No, it's you are that person's backup team, cheerleader, support system, everything during that season. No exceptions. So yeah, we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, we are. And as you're talking about this, I think about one of the very best examples I've ever seen of that marriage vow coming through was Elizabeth's grandmother, who did the most amazing job taking care of Elizabeth's grandfather during the last 5 to 6 years of his life. She was always a great caregiver and a great supporter, but he went through a stroke that basically took all of his physical capacity. And he had already had a big dementia loss and stuff. So he was really, really not able to do anything for himself for that, like I said, 5-6 years before he finally did pass away. And Elizabeth's grandma, I never heard her complain one time. She put in not only the amount of work you should put in, but double what was really required. The guy never got a pressure ulcer. He never got sick, beyond control.
Tell people what a pressure ulcer is, because not many people know what that is.
Yeah, I work in healthcare. So I sometimes forget lingo. But if you are in bed for a long time, there are certain parts of your body that like bony parts of your body that might get pressure on them. And if you're there sitting for a long time or laying down for a long time, no new blood flows to it. It's like if you push on your skin and you see it kind of gets lighter and then it fills back up with its normal color. If you're like that for days, your skin and stuff, it doesn't thrive.
Well, it
I won't get,
dies.
there you go. I wasn't going to get too graphic. Yeah. And then you get open wounds and it's horrible.
Yeah.
But so it takes a lot of very important, very specific care to avoid those because they're easy to get. He never got any. So
Yeah.
hats off to her. It was kind of that really awesome example that I always think about, like, 50 years from now when we're in our 80s. Now you know our ages. I hope I can do something similar to that.
Yeah. She was incredibly selfless, and it was a really, really beautiful picture of those wedding vows coming to life, and just how much she loved him.
Mm-hmm.
Like the last image I have of them together was when he was already gone, and she was just rubbing his head, and she gave him the sweetest little kiss on his forehead, and it was so precious, and she loved and still loves him dearly, and it's really precious to experience that kind of love. I'm so glad that she got to experience that, but it's also quite a gift to me to be able to see that. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, where do we go from here?
Okay.
All right, so that was a nice little
Sorry.
Yeah. No reason to be sorry. All right, so in any marriage, if you've been married for any amount of time or know any married couples, which is everybody, there's ups and downs. So health can be a major source of some of those difficult times. So we wanted to kind of walk you through something we went through and how we navigated it. And of course, you're going to get, as with any Marriage Talks episode, the things we did that we think were great and that really helped us, and the things we did that could have been better.
Yes.
Full disclosure here.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, and it's interesting for me to revisit some of this stuff because I'm the one who got sick. And some of the details of this, you're going to get to know me pretty well. We'll spare you the really interesting and gross stuff. But needless to say, it ended up being like 8-10 weeks. I think I was sick. It was a long process. It was early November to the first week of January, mid-January. So it's a long time.
Yeah. 2.5 months, I think, when all is said and done.
Yeah.
We kind of need to set this up timeline wise so that, you guys can get a good picture of it. But during the holidays, like Michael said, beginning of November in 2016, Michael started feeling really bad. Just a lot of stomach pain. And I am 8 months pregnant at this time with our second. And so I'm like, okay, countdown. When's this thing coming out? Kind of thing. If you've been pregnant, you know what I'm talking about. And it was a little strange, not like super alarming at first, because it was like, okay, maybe like an ingredient in there just didn't agree with your stomach, or, maybe your body went through some changes, because sometimes that happens with people where like all of a sudden you need to have a different diet. And we just need to figure out what that is. And honestly, that's where my mind was. I was like, okay, we need to do some like food elimination type stuff. But
that's what I was hoping it was too, because you can just adjust and move on.
Right.
Although I was a little afraid to let go of certain foods for life. That was kind of a weird time.
Yes. You were really sour about that.
We were talking about elimination of bread. And I'm like, oh, no. That is like death to me. I can't imagine it.
We get closer to Thanksgiving, and nothing's really improved. And honestly, I think it's getting worse. And he was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to partake in Thanksgiving dinner because nothing was sitting well. It was literally like he ate something and then it was just a horrible experience in the bathroom shortly after, basically, is what we're dealing with.
It's a friendly way of putting it, yeah.
And it was was it after Thanksgiving you went to go see the doctor? Or was it before?
I don't remember timeline.
I think it was before we had Thanksgiving dinner that you went to go see the doctor, and they basically just diagnosed him with colitis, which is just inflammation in your colon.
Yep.
Is what that is.
Well, I had initially, the beginning of all of it was a Wednesday. I remember I woke up, felt like I had kind of a rock in my guts, and
side note, it was after Thanksgiving.
Okay. But the rock in the gut feeling didn't get any better. And by about 10:30 a.m. at work, I was just like, I can't really stand. I can't move around. My job requires me to move around. And I was like, I might have a kidney stone. So I went to the walk-in clinic. Even though I work at a hospital, I work at a hospital, or I did at the time, with an ER built in. But an ER for us is like so dang expensive. Yes. So I went to the walk-in, which is like $100 instead. And they scanned me and they found some stuff. So I took antibiotics, which now I know was the catalyst for everything happening.
Oh, yes. What unfolded
antibiotics.
Next?
Yep.
And yes, so you got the antibiotics, and it made you feel better, but all the while completely, if you're not familiar what antibiotics does, it just wipes out anything that's good in your gut. Anything good and anything bad, just like you start with nothing. And so it's a prime environment for bad stuff to come in and start attacking, basically, is what can happen. From that, so we are getting closer to the due date. We are now like mid-December, and Michael is still feeling terrible, even after the antibiotics.
And by this point, I've missed 4 to 5 days of work already.
Yeah.
Whereas like I can't even come in and work with patients because I'm not good for an entire hour at any given hour of the day.
Right. Yeah, you got down to you were in your bad days where you were trying to be at work. You would have a patient and treat them for an hour, and then immediately, as soon as you were like, bye, you were running to the bathroom.
Yeah, I would have to finish early and go to the bathroom every hour.
Yeah.
So I told you you're going to get to know me really well in this episode.
Yeah. Which is not your fault. Just so we're getting to what he actually had. So,
but like bathroom trips were not the problem. It was the way everything felt all the time.
Yeah.
This time I would equate it. I when I recount the story, I would imagine like, I don't know what it's like to drink a whole gallon of cyanide, but I imagine your body would feel like it was feeling then as you're about to die. Like it feels like my whole insides were lit up with poison. Mm. It was awful. And it didn't stop. Like no position, no activity.
You got no sleep.
I didn't sleep for 3 days at a time.
Yeah.
I couldn't fall asleep because it hurt too bad. And you had to go to the bathroom so much. And after a while, I think a lot, I remember losing about 17 pounds in about 5 days.
Yeah.
Which for me, I think I went down to about 140 pounds, and I'm 5'9.5". I was looking pretty terrible.
You shouldn't be at 140 pounds.
No. I'm glad to report I am not that light anymore. I beat that one.
But yes, so we're getting closer to the due date. We end up having a C-section on December 20th. I feel like you had in closer to when Henry was born, you had a few hours at a time that were a little bit better. Not a whole day, but you would have okay, I feel okay for a couple hours at a time. But
that was strictly based on a pattern I noticed. If I didn't eat anything, I didn't feel bad. So I just stopped eating stuff, basically.
Yeah.
In any significant amount. It'd be like a handful of saltine crackers and that was it. Which is why I lost so much weight.
Yeah. And then, so we're in this, let me paint the picture for you. We are in an operating room that's supposed to be sterile.
Yep.
I'm getting cut open, and Michael's around our fresh baby. And he's in the hospital room with me for recovery. And we get home, and I've still, like if you've ever had a C-section, you have to take care of it and make sure that you clean. It's just like any surgery. When you get cut, you just have to make sure that the area is clean and you're in a good, healthy environment. And we get a call December 27th. So 7 days after we had our second child, that Michael has, I'm going to butcher this, Clostridium difficile colitis, or better known as C-diff.
Yeah, and that I've noticed that rings a bell with some people. Like, oh, I had a cousin or my grandpa got that. It's horrible, and it's actually something that kills elderly people quite a bit.
And infants, like young kids, if they get it.
It's much, much more common in old people. But if you're at the far ends of the life spectrum, it can get you.
Yes. So, and it's highly contagious.
It's highly contagious. So as we're finding this out, I'm like, are you joking? Like I had that sickness for 8 weeks and no one thought to do a sample test and check this out, including myself. I knew it could be happening, but I was actually afraid to admit it because it's really horrible.
Mind you, sharing bathrooms.
Yeah.
Like, that's the big thing.
We only have 2.
Sharing bathrooms. And before we knew that that's what Michael had, I was just like, just make sure you sanitize everything, like bleach it, clean it, wipe it down, everything, every single time. Poor guy, he was cleaning the bathroom 24 times a day. And so it was like, okay. And then he was like, well, my wife just had a kid. What do I do? And the doctor's like, it's my advisement that they move out.
Yeah, you got to quarantine.
Yes, for 10 days. So my parents come over that same day, pack us up with all of our stuff, and for 10 days we are at my parents' house.
It was really weird, the process of them packing you guys up, because it was like I was looking around and my in-laws are here and they're helping my wife and kids pack bags so they can leave the house. I was like, this feels weird. Like, it's like almost like the family's being ripped apart, except no one's mad at each other. That was it was so strange.
Yeah.
And of course I'm feeling terrible the whole time, but luckily doctors got it under control. Antibiotics, the second round worked like an absolute dream. And I had 10 days to basically clean the house top to bottom with every antimicrobial thing you could find.
I had him wipe, basically it was disinfected from top to bottom, ceiling to floor. I had him pull everything out of all the drawers, closets, everything that was fabric, all the carpets, everything out of the house. Everything was sanitized. I mean, this house was super clean. But during those really long nights and times when Michael was feeling his worst, he would call me into the bathroom, because when you're in so much pain, I've been through childbirth, so it's a different kind of pain, but when you're going through pain, you want somebody to be there, and you want somebody to tell you that it's going to be okay, and to basically coach you through that moment where it feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And there were moments when I had to coach you through breathing so you wouldn't pass out.
Yeah.
And that was really scary. I know it's scary for you, but as the person who's on the outside, trying everything possible to prevent the person that they love the most to not pass out, because I don't know what I would have done had you passed out. And so I'm saying whatever I can to get you to come back down from that level 10 pain. Yeah.
Spending some time on the cold tile helps, kind of wakes up your system a little bit. But that was very meaningful to me, where I have passed out on a number of occasions. It's pretty scary. And just to have someone there to talk to, like, hey, tell me a story about something good. so I can think about something other than how bad I feel right now. Because I'm sleep deprived, I'm feeling like I drank poison, and I just need some positivity in my life right now. And she was able to give that to me. And so that was just a really cool way that Elizabeth was able to help me get through that. And it meant everything in that moment. In fact, when I think about that chapter of our lives, it's absolutely full of horrible memories, but sprinkled throughout with, you know what? That time was the time when I knew that I had found an awesome lady. It was like, there are some people I would imagine who'd be like, yikes, this whole thing's real gross. I don't think I know anybody like that, but I imagine there are people out there who'd be like, man, you know what? I didn't really sign up for this. There's a lot of stuff going on and it's real gross. Let me know when you're feeling better.
Right.
I'll be in the living room or something like that. I just can't really deal with this. To have Elizabeth there was super, super helpful. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
What's funny is, like, you know, as we recount this story, in my mental memory, I have to remember and remind myself that you were super pregnant this whole time.
Yeah.
Because that detail gets totally lost.
Yeah.
I honestly was hanging on for dear life this entire time through the process. But I think back now, I'm like, holy cow, to deal with all that stuff and have this giant baby inside. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, he was giant.
He was giant, which is the whole reason we had the C-section.
Yeah. Yeah. I, like you said, recounting the stories, we were talking through it before we started recording. I was like, was I 9 months pregnant on the floor walking you through how to breathe so you wouldn't pass out? And you're like, yeah. I just did not remember that. And I think that's honestly by the grace of God that I wasn't so wrapped up in what I was experiencing at the moment so that I could help you. Because I think if I was more self-absorbed or trying to feed into my pride, like, well, you should have been taking care of me. I'm 9 months pregnant. You know, like, if that would have been my lens on things, that would have been a much different experience. And that's something that I had to really check my mindset on, that I would say, I would kind of warn other couples, be careful that you don't fall into the mindset trap that I did, which was like, ugh, he's waking up again. I just want to sleep. And it's like, he's not doing it on purpose. He's in a ton of pain and he's just trying to get through it. And when I stop putting on my selfish lens and I put on a selfless lens and I make it about Michael, then I'm actually able to help him and for it to come from a genuine place and to actually care for him in a loving way instead of like, well, I guess we're married, so I'll just, I'll hold your hand. You know, that's not where my heart should be. My heart should be in a selfless place and wanting to help walk you through that no matter how many times you wake me up in the middle of the night.
Well, if you ever had any thoughts like that, you hid them well. So I appreciate it.
Well, there were times when you were just like in so much pain and it would wake me up and, you know, being super pregnant, it's an understandable response. I'm super pregnant and all I want to do is sleep. And so there were times when I was like, oh my goodness, I just want to sleep. But in that moment, it's not about me. We're in a season where you needed me. And that's okay.
Yeah, and then we quickly transitioned to a season where you and Henry needed me. So luckily I was feeling better pretty soon after that. But I was by myself.
Yeah, I gotta say, I have mad respect for single moms because I only had to do it for 10 days, but 10 days of being in a room with a fresh baby, newborn, and a 2-year-old, and having just been cut open, that's not fun. And that honestly sucks.
Yeah.
It was incredibly painful.
I have a friend who I think deserves Mom of the Decade award because she was a single mom who had preemie twins. And I'm like, how did you even pull that off? That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's tough stuff.
Single parents, you guys are amazing. Amazing, amazing.
So we promised actionable steps here. So we're going to deliver
Yes.
now.
So 3 things to keep in mind when your spouse is going through an illness. I mentioned this just a few minutes ago. It's not about you. So in the time when Michael was healing from C. diff, it's not about me. That's a season where my role is to be the support team. It's to be the cheerleader. It's to be the person that holds his hand. It's not about me. And when I have that correct mindset, it allows me to actually serve him better and to love him better instead of feeding into my own pride and saying, well, when is it ever going to be about me? It's, there will be seasons where it needs to be more about me over Michael and Michael over me. And that is just the way marriage goes. We're not always going to be in a season where things click into place and it's set on, autopilot. Like, there will have to be seasons of give and take. And that was a season where it's not about me. It's about Michael.
Yeah. And this is a good opportunity to look for any chance you can to reach out and help. So as your spouse is going through a tough time, they won't be able to fulfill every, say, normal duty or job they might usually do. And it's an opportunity for you to do a nice, sweet gesture that's kind of not expected. And just kind of, if you're going through something physically, whether it be chronic pain or a GI illness or even late stage pregnancy, if your spouse takes off some of your burden, it may not help you physically, but emotionally, it's going to help a lot. So keep an eye out for those kind of things to just slip in there and do something awesome for the other person.
Yes. Second thing is no judgment, especially when your spouse might be going through an illness that has a lot of side effects or like external manifestations of whatever illness it might be. They're not doing whatever it is on purpose. So while what they're doing, like a side effect, might be really gross, to be totally honest with you, it could be really gross, but they're not saying, I'm going to choose to be really gross right now and do this, like their body is just trying to get in a good state. So no judgment, like they're not choosing to be this way. And number 3, words of encouragement and prayer. Michael was in immense pain, and I truly believe that the words of encouragement and prayer were vital to his recovery. There is some serious power in prayer. If you've listened to other episodes, you know that Michael and I are Christians, and we believe in the power of prayer. It's for real. And along with words of encouragement, I think that those were 2 big things that really brought comfort and peace to Michael during that time, because it was not an easy season at all.
I would agree with that statement. I think they did that too.
Our challenge to you, because we always do a challenge every single episode. This may not be applicable to you today, but if your spouse is either currently going through, or just keep this in mind for the future, through a season of illness, we want to encourage you to be sensitive. It is most certainly a struggle, and not only as the person who is being sick, but also the healthy one. There are struggles on both sides and things that need to be navigated very carefully. And so we just want to encourage you to keep that in mind. For if you ever have to go through a season of illness with your spouse. And to wrap this all up, we just want to say thank you. We would not be doing this without you. And we really, really appreciate you taking the time to listen to today's episode. And if you are loving the podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review, and we will read your review on a future episode. Also, if you like this episode, please share it with a friend. That is the best way to help others find us. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and we will leave those links in the show notes.
Thanks, guys, for listening. Have a good one.